Oh, what's up, guys? Uh, Steve, believe it or not, guys, Steve, the IT guy, is having technical difficulties. So hopefully he'll make it here shortly. We've been, I've been waiting on him, but it looks like he's running a little bit behind. I'll try to get through these comments and see who all's here right quick. Good day, everybody. Let's see here. Sup, Sharon, Jack, Victor, Chris. Good day, mate. Jack, Peter. Well, hello there, British Columbia, Canada. Uh, Hello, Jim, Louisiana. Mark, California. Keeping it West Coast over there. Wisconsin Shore. Okay. Uh, Texas. All right. Looks like we represented pretty much all over the place. Illinois, Jeff there. Sharon again, Brian. I'm guessing Brian's in here. I see people commenting to Brian. Mark, Minnesota Custom. Good evening. Philip. Uh, don't recognize that name right off, but Philip, if this is your first, you know, visit with us, I hope you enjoy it. It may not be as good a show as usual with Steve having technical problems, and I have had a bit of a relapse with my back issues, so I apologize for if I seem a little bit in distress. I'm battling with some pretty severe pain, but I have an appointment in the morning. Hopefully I can get some relief tomorrow. Uh, that's one reason why y'all haven't seen me doing a whole lot of videos as well. Back's been giving me crap, or legs, back, sciatic nerve, whatever you want to call it. Hello, Lori from Arizona. Yeah, hot over that way. Phoenix. Super Duty in the house. Uh, okay, Philip. Yeah, I just didn't recognize the name. You must be just staying quiet. I know there has been a Philip, but I didn't remember the PRC part. But yeah, Terry. I hope I do. Right now, guys, I am a bit under the influence of prescription medication, so hopefully it won't get too crazy. But I am following the prescription the way that it needs to be. Uh, Mark, I like to think that watching, well, usually me and Steve, but I would like to think watching us is usually better than most football games. Uh, yeah, well, that's just the way it's spelt, Bob. If they didn't want me saying S, they shouldn't have put it at the end of it, right? But anyway, guys, I got a chance to put out a little bit of video. Some of y'all had asked me about my 3D printer setup. I got that working today, and I've been playing with the guys. I've got to figure out how I'm going to use this thing, but the Niji 3 Max has turned out to be quite an exceptional machine. Uh, I'm really digging the way they did their Z-axis. I think a lot of people that make these lasers could learn a thing or two from Niji when it comes to Z-axis and ease of operation. I'm really enjoying that thing. Yeah, it's cooling off here for all you guys out in Arizona and everywhere. You guys up in Alaska, it's probably already getting cold up there, but it's not as hot as it has been. Des Moines, Des Moines, yeah, yeah. I've heard that one said enough. I guess I automatically just leave the S out on that one. Sorry, Des Moines. But that's because I've heard other people say it. Uh, it's just one of those things. And guys, I am scooting all over this chair trying to get this thing to quit hurting. So I'm gonna be moving around a lot. Y'all just bear with me. Questions, comments, concerns. I've seen some of y'all been doing some pretty cool projects that y'all shared in the Laser Engraver community page. And if you haven't joined that already, guys, go check that out. I know most of you said you've been here before, then you're probably already aware of it. But if you aren't, then go check that page out. I put that link right there. Or, well, I don't think it's clickable, guys. Sorry about that, but just go in there and search for laser engraving community, and it'll pull up. But some pretty cool work being put in there here lately. Some of you guys have really stepped it up. with some of these sleighs. North Alabama Steve is having technical difficulties. He's trying to work around, but something got updated on his computer and it has got him. His camera's not wanting to connect. So, but he's an IT guy, so he should have this. He should have this resolved here shortly. Uh, but I do know he's been. Well, he may be out there with his safari outfit on looking for those crickets. but but yeah, he says he's trying to get here, but he's just having troubles. So if anybody knows a good IT person, he could probably use one about now. I told him to restart it, and that usually fixes most problems. But I don't think that did it. Question here. Well, since I'm the only one here, I guess I'll take this one. Uh, but wait a minute. Who is this guy? This guy has just appeared down here in the corner of my screen. He's fidgeting. So he has his camera fixed. We'll just see if he gets everything working. He'll be here in a minute if he is. Uh, Filament storage. I'm not a 3D printing expert by no shape, form, or fashion, but so far I've got mine inside the house, and typically speaking, inside a house, if it's air conditioned with a heat pump or whatever, you should be fine. It's going to keep it down around 40-ish or lower, depending on your part of the world. The folks out in Arizona, of course, they probably don't have a problem with their filament getting too humid. They could just take it outside and put it outside for a little while and it'd dry right out. But here in the shack, it is currently 40% relative humidity. Oh, there he is. Yes. He made it.
Barely.
Oh, I hear you. My little light over here is flickering for some reason. I'm glad you made it, Steve. I was beginning to stress. But they do sell dryers for that stuff, and we discussed the other day, whether you get a ammo can or a plastic tote or something like that, and put some of those dryer beads in there with it. Hornady makes one that's made for like gun safes, and this thing I bought me a new light, guys, and it is flickering to no end over here. But yeah, I would agree dryer is better. But at which point humidity starts causing a problem, I haven't got that much experience with it yet. So, but anyways, that's my take on it. I think Steve, we agreed on that last week. As long as they're asking about filament for 3D printing, and I basically said as long as it's in your
Filament is
house,
bad.
as long as it's in your house and your house is air conditioned, you should be fine. It should be really great if you live out in Arizona.
Yeah, yeah. In Arizona, it might get too dry.
All right, Steve. Everybody wants to know why you were late. So
I'm having a day. That's all I can say. I don't know. I actually sat down. I've been shuffling some things in my shop, and down in my basement shop, I actually went to your favorite pizza place and picked up some. They're these kind of like they're meant to. They're like I think they're like a vinyl type, a thick vinyl kind of puzzle piece flooring that you might put in a garage or something. And so I wanted to put that down on the floor in there as I'm kind of reworking it, which has been going okay, but it's a lot of up and down on your knees, and my back is not too happy with me for that. And so
we share.
I was just like that's torn apart, and there's crickets and it's raining, so I didn't want to be out in the other shop. So I was just gonna hop on my computer here in the office, and I even sat down about 6:15, started messing around with it, and I was like, well, I'll see if I can get Streamlabs to work as well. And all of a sudden, anything but the streaming software was seeing either camera, and I'm like, what is going on? So I finally had to crawl under my desk here, unplug. I even rebooted the computer a couple times, plugged and unplugged the USB camera. It finally decided to free up, and here I am. So, yeah, it's been a weekend. It's been a day. So, but I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm in a
Well,
somewhat comfortable chair.
yeah. Well, we want you to feel at home, Steve.
See, here's the thing. When we're doing the show, I've got my noise canceling headphones on. I don't hear them. So, um, so yeah, I mean that's more here. I could just try to play some myself, but I'm not sure that would work very well.
Yeah, see, it sounds like you're back out in the shop. Fix it
Yeah.
right up.
Well,
But
no,
yeah,
I do still have crickets out there. I was out there the other day, and I was like, ugh, they're still there, but
everybody was wondering if you were on safari hunting for crickets.
not this week. Not this week. No.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, seems like everybody else. Like I said, a lot of these guys may even know way more about this 3D printing, but everybody seems to be agreeing with us on dryers better, but household should be okay. So, but yeah,
I
yeah, we should just do like a DIY dryer setup, for filament or whatever storage with the beads and everything.
I mean, sure. They make containers and dryers and things that aren't terribly expensive that you can, if you're really having trouble with your filament, you can add that to them. But
Yeah, yeah. Alabama said if you can't get here on time, just get here when you can. No, I think I think you're in your basement, right? You've just changed the angle of the camera.
this is actually well, I'm in the basement, but I'm not in my shop. So this is kind of a computer room that I use for when I'm working from home for real work, and then kids got a computer right over there and things like that. There's a 3D printer or two behind me.
Oh, look at you.
So
So exactly how many places to work do you have, Steve? That's three, as best I can tell. That's three.
well, I
You have
mean,
three different shops.
can work anywhere. I got my laptop, but I mean this is this area is more just like the computer zone. I've got uh, I've got my primary office computer in here. There's actually a video game console, or that's a bar top arcade I built. Like I said, the kids' computers over there. We used to have a TV here with some consoles, but that's just whatever. But so I mean, yeah, I mean, I can do office stuff in here. I could 3D print in here, but I just have the two working areas outside that. So
Yeah. Well, it does add to the dynamic with the whole NASA thing and the 3D printer in the background. That's something new. I didn't even know you had that space. So cool. Question. And I tried to voice these questions out because people have brought it to my attention that some people listen to us as a podcast. So if y'all hear me reading the questions, that's why, guys. Says she's recently started timeless fabrication and struggling to drive sales. What do you suggest? What is timeless fab? Okay, my ignorance is showing. What is timeless fabrication?
uh, yeah,
Okay,
I'm
so
not up on
maybe
that one. I
maybe I'm not as dumb as I thought I was. Hang on, let me Google
So
that.
I've seen a few places, and I don't know if this is one of them, but you can kind of register yourself as a small shop, and so if people are looking for CNC work or metal type work or whatever, they can batch things out. But maybe it's a specific business name as well. But um, in general, as far as driving sales, that's kind of tough, um, because it's going to vary on what your area is like, where what you're trying to do. So if there's like local people that will buy your stuff, if you're like doing home craft stuff, the one of the biggest, cheapest, easiest things to do is get involved with your local Facebook pages, Facebook groups, Facebook Marketplace. Um, I know not everybody enjoys Facebook, but you can find a lot of local people easily through social media that way. And with that, if you have local craft fairs, local farmers markets, if there's any sort of places that you can do like a pop-up thing with another business, you gotta kind of get involved with maybe a local business group. Like I know Clack has talked about theirs, and Clanton seems to be pretty active and supportive. Not all of them are. I've heard some people say, yeah, I joined and it was a good old boys club kind of thing. So it's not always It's
Yeah.
again, it's going to be dependent on the community you're in, but that's uh, unless you've got good connections with someone that can help you break out in your niche. That's kind of what I recommend people just make a number of things, share it on social media, and then start you know sharing with get family and friends maybe to share that stuff, join some groups to share that stuff. Just do it politely. Any group you jump into and you just start bombarding them with, "Hey, look at me, buy my stuff." It's not going to go too well, but um,
Yeah.
that's yeah, I mean, they're called side hustles for a reason. You got to get there and do some hustling. Um, so
Yeah, well, pretty much the same way as far as how I got started, and it's kind of coincidental because y'all know Klein has started doing his thing, and I have been kind of like helping him along the way and helping him promote some of his stuff. And he did this really cool mailbox engrave this past week, and he's starting to see now. He's been doing it for several months, but he's starting to see jobs come in, and he was telling me the other day, coming from just doing it to learn to now he's actually got jobs coming in. And all he's using, guys, is Facebook, his own little page. Get your friends and family, share it out. Do some good work, get it out there. Uh, Giveaway stuff is always, I mean, yeah, you lose a little money because you're giving stuff away. But at the same time, if you go into a local business and let's say it's a pub or a restaurant or something, and you do some coasters or something like that for them, or some bottle openers or something, and just show it to them. If nothing else, maybe that'll help them remember your name for themselves or another business. And like Steve said, find your local chamber of commerce, merchants association of some sorts, any kind of groups that like where they have a I guess you would say like a sales organization. And then, of course, the free stuff with Facebook and all that is definitely a big thing. And yes, there is, like Minnesota said, there is a lot to be said about a Google page. If you set it up properly and put all the information out there, you will get a lot of traction with that. I don't have a physical storefront, but looking at my Google Analytics where people are searching for my business, sometimes it's a little scary because my shop's in my backyard. So, it's amazing how many people actually Google the Clack Shack or Google something, whether it be laser engraving, woodworking, or whatever, and it brings them to my Google profile. So,
mhm.
but there's a lot of good content out there as far as the business side of it. But you just gotta dig through it. But yeah, Philip and Chris and everybody, I think that may be the name of the business because I Googled it and I'm not seeing anything. Y'all excuse me, like I said, I am having to relocate periodically due to this extreme pain that I got going on back here. Uh, yeah, Brian, one of these days, I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna shovel some snow. I have never. Well, I take that back. I think I did shovel some snow one time back a long, long time ago. But that was the one time that we've ever had enough that you could actually shovel it.
I think you should come up here and have the wonderful enjoyment of going out to your car and it is completely encased in ice and you have to get to work. That's what I think you should experience.
Hey, I did that when I went to a blizzard one time up in Kansas City, Missouri, several years ago, and it was like that. Like we had to keep a propane torch to heat up the locks so that we could unlock the truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah, shoveling snow. I mean, I'll take shoveling snow any day over dealing with ice storms. So, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, Mark apparently is having that same little issue that I've been having with Lightburn not saving the camera calibration. Uh, I don't know why that is. I don't know why it does it, but every now and then mine will do the same thing. I had to recalibrate the big enclosure twice when I changed the machine out the other day. Uh, but I don't know the fix. Only fix I know is just keep doing it until it sticks. That's what I've been doing. Uh, But I have started doing the first half of it and then saving that and then going back and doing the other half instead of just going from one to the other.
so here's a couple questions. that are kind of strung together. ETLCs asking, I have two questions tonight. First, how do I prep a non-coated stainless tumbler to get a nice dark logo for his business? And then the second part of that is, what are some good starting settings for both tumbler and glass? And I think he said he's using a Comgrow 10 watt and a 20 watt Aether.
How dark are we? Are you say a plain tumbler? So I'm guessing he's just trying to market. There's really the only thing that you're going to be able to do to make it darker without some kind of spray is just going to be the correct settings and maybe defocus a little bit. What's your take on that part?
You know, I've played around with this on numerous lasers, including my CO2 and others, and honestly, uh, investing in this spray is worth it. If you're wanting a nice dark engraving, get some of that, Brilliance marking spray or the what's the other, the Surmark spray.
Sir Mark.
It, I know it seems expensive, but a little bit goes a long way, and it makes it so consistent.
Yes.
Outside of that, I mean, you want to make sure it's clean. And yeah, you can play around with the settings. I've always found though that it's hard to get it's always kind of a tinge of brown. It's a really dark brown color rather than a nice black color. As far as glass goes, there again, less power is your friend. You're gonna need to do some testing with your lasers, and you want to get just to that point where it frosts it, but doesn't start fracturing and cracking and splintering it. There again, you can use any sort of it just needs a binder for the diodes. Um, and so with that, a lot of people will use the tempera paint, but other people are using like chalkboard paint. Other people are using even the Surmark. And then what is it? If you use white paint, you get a dark engraving because of the titanium dioxide in some of them. And then if you use a black paint, it just uses the heat and creates the frosting. So
Yeah,
um,
if you get the right setting using black paint, you can actually some of the paint pigment will get
sure,
into
yep.
the glass and can cause it to have kind of a gray or a little bit of a black tinge to it. But yeah, glass is easier to me to get a good consistent engrave on. If you're just a little out of focus, me and you had that because I kept cracking wine glasses because I had it completely focused, and then you know, started trying to raise it up a millimeter or two out of focus and had a lot better luck because it doesn't heat up that little small patch to cause it to start fracturing because like you said, there's a fine line between frosting and fracturing.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and I've heard even some people comment on making sure that you're doing it, especially a lot of people like them for like a wedding party and things. And the last thing you want is them to start getting little abrasions or worse cuts on their hands from a real fractured one. So it's good to get some sample pieces and do some testing and really dial in where you just get that nice frosted look on it.
yeah, see, this is a glass like tile that I found, like a backsplash tile, and it's hard to see with the light coming from that direction. But where's my flashlight? Hang on. But you're going to want to test it because you can see the difference in the frosting, the color of the frosting and everything. But this is some kind of tile. I just sometimes I wonder through the hardware stores and just look at stuff and go, I wonder what I can engrave on that. And this was one of those things. I got a few of them because it's pretty cool because it's already got this white coating on the back of it and it's really thick. It's almost like feels like a ceramic tile, which it's technically that's where you find these. Uh, and so what I had looked at doing was like making a case for them, like a frame, and engraving them kind of like we do with the mirrors. And it got this really really cool. And you can't see it on this camera, worth of crap, but it's got a really cool frosting. But as you can see, I run several different tests uh, at different LPIs at different speeds with air assist, without air assist. There's a lot of variables, and test and do some more testing. So Hey, walking around actually helps my leg feel better, so that's good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I relapsed bad, man. I considered myself to be about 80% cured from my back problems, and then overnight, bam, and I'm right back to phase one. So,
Yeah, well, that's why stretching and exercise is good for them.
wow, 10,000 millimeters a minute. How fast is it? 60. Hang on, calculator time.
Mark, yes, I've played with Brilliance on the diode lasers and have gotten it to work. Um, Caveat being that I think it's mostly been with my 20 watt and higher, maybe with the 10 watt, but um, your mileage will vary a little bit on some of that. But yes, I've gotten it to work with um, well, in any of the rotary ones. I think the Atom Stack one I did last, there's some just cheap stainless steel cups that I picked up on Amazon or Harbor Freight or somewhere, and used the Brilliance marking spray on there, and it worked out really well.
Brian, I had to do some math on that because I wasn't sure how fast that 10,000 was, but that's showing that's only 130 millimeters per second, if I'm correct. So you shouldn't be having those problems. Well, it's actually faster than that, but let me see here. 10,000. Yeah, math's not my thing. 166. So it's 166 millimeters per second. If you're getting that kind of vibrations, Brian, I would say check your concentric wheels because, and I will tell you this. This is something I learned accidentally with the Acer. They're a little finicky to get adjusted, but my recommendation, and this is my recommendation, you know, if you want to do this, great, but this is how I did mine, and it works flawlessly for me. I took the belts off before I adjusted the wheels on the gantry. That way, any vibration, any tension, any slipping, or anything like that, I knew was the only thing it could be was the wheels, and I adjusted the wheels with the belts loose. Once I got the wheels eccentric nuts adjusted the way I wanted them to be adjusted, then I put the belts back on, tensioned the belts, and adjusted the timing. So that's what I would recommend because that's what I did with my V35 when I first put it into service, and it's running great. It hadn't had any problems, but it sounds to me, Brian, like you've got one of your eccentric wheels or eccentric nuts is a little too tight, and it's grabbing periodically, and that's what's causing that shuddering. You want that thing to just smoothly glide. So, but I run this one all the way up to 300 millimeters a second. I don't get any vibration. So it's gonna be something in the adjustments, and for it to be a vibration, I would think more than likely it's gonna be the wheels. Yeah, Chris, I agree. Cheap glass burns better than the expensive stuff. That I would second that opinion.
All right. Lori is asking about adding. Um, uh, Downloaded the digital file for the Coaster Caddy. Thank you. And wondering how to add etched text to the side panels. So let me see if I can
Show us how to do it.
share.
Hang on, let me fix the screen where
You
you can
fix
see
that.
here. Yeah, I'm gonna get you fixed there,
All
fella.
right. So this is the file that we're looking at, and these would be the side panels. And this is in the 1/8 inch version. There's also a 1/4 inch, which would just mean these tabs are different. So this is on the line file, and this is in Lightburn, of course. If you're using XCS, you'd do the same thing here. What we're going to do is we're going to add another layer. So I'm going to grab my text tool over here. We'll just put in some sample text there, and then just come down here and select another layer, and we're going to change this to fill. So that will set that text to be the engrave, whereas the line is going to be the cut. And then if you're doing it in order, I would just move that up so it does the engrave first, and then the rest would be the cut. So it's very simple. Just have to work with layers based on your software, and then also,
you'll need to reorient
yeah,
that, won't you?
I was going to say, you'll want to pay attention to the tabs because with this one, we'll actually want to rotate it around. So we'll do that. And then you wanted the same thing here, you would then that way. And then you could play around with centering and such, but that's kind of the simple gist of it. So hopefully that helps you out.
Yep. Boom, ba-dum, ba-dum. There we go. Still looking through comments here. Look at ta-da.
You know, I could share another thing here. There's something interesting that came up for me today. I know a lot of people ask what our first laser was.
Yep. What's up, Chad? Hey, it doesn't matter to be late. We're not big on all that.
So this popped up for me today. 8 years ago. That's when I got my
and it's still there.
I still have it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at some of your videos the other day. Like some of the, classic Steve.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty good videos. Let's see what else we got going on. I saw somebody else commented something, but I'm trying to find it. Uh-oh. Apparently, he's still having a loss of power with his machine.
Oh no. I think Bill, remind me what that was. Was that the Acer 35 that you're working with?
And I'm assuming we checked the S value.
Well, it's been kind of a slow loss power, but that not necessarily something we've checked.
Well, I think we mentioned that to him last time, and I think he said I think I recall him saying that it was set correctly. So, but yeah, I haven't had a problem with, and I run the mess out of my machines. So unless you've managed to get something up in that first lens, or just maybe got a bad module, I don't whatever. Yeah, I saw that too, Chris or Brian. I saw that. I was going to not comment on it. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Bill. Hey there. Hey, Carla. She just walked by behind you back there. She's gonna be like, she's gonna be texting you. Shut your door.
I can't. That's just a wide open. There's a non-door situation there.
I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Bill, but yeah, I can't be using NCIC for stuff like that. That get me in trouble. Alco Laser Delta. So what's your thoughts on that one? I know you have the Alpha also, and I do, and from what I can tell, it's an improved version of the Alpha, but I think the basic mechanics of it are the same.
It's a little bit bigger, I think.
Yeah, well, I was talking about as far as the way it's designed, the wheels, the
that,
steppers. I think all that's the same.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, the Alpha was a fine machine. I liked it and still have it in my shop down here. And the Delta, I think the two big things being from what I know, it's a little bit bigger. And then also that offline controller looks decent. I'd love to play around with one like that to see, because I'm always a little like, yeah, you can kind of do things with the offline controller, but not necessarily everything. That's one thing that I like about my CO2 is you can actually load it. It has some memory in there. So I have a number of jobs that I frequently run on there. Well, not so much recently, but back when I was doing my model airplane stuff, running the foam flight stuff, I had some files on there that I would run frequently. I could just bring them up on there. I could move things around, set origin, and that touch panel was really handy. And that's one thing I've kind of missed on most diodes is, they might have a basic controller or they've got the app on the phone that's kind of, okay. But yeah. I always just like, okay, I'm hooking up the computer to it anyway. Now that being said, I've been messing around with that F1 and using it wirelessly through XCS, and that's actually been working pretty well. But you don't really do a lot of setting your home origin on that or anything. But um, yeah, I think that would be the biggest thing is looking at that touchscreen and the offline controller options on there for people who might have frequent things they want to run.
Yeah. Yeah, Christine, I'm trying to. I'll look back to see if I could tell whether you had stated or not. But what kind of machine are you talking about? I can tell you which, if I was guessing, with the laser head slipping down while you're working. I know one machine that had a lot of problems with that for a while. If you don't tighten the screws, the D1 tended to wear after a while. And I've heard some people complain about that. But there should be some type of mechanism to hold that thing in place. And it may just be because a lot of these companies put little tiny screws on there that are, yeah, I figured it was. That the way the D1 connects to that dovetail in the back, it doesn't utilize a lot of surface area on the machine to hold it. And as that wears, it tends to get a little slippy. Tends to slip a little bit. But basically tighten it really tight, as tight as you can, as tight as you can, safely do, and just kind of move it a little bit to make sure. Now you can pull that lever out and adjust it so that you can actually change the amount of tension. Hey, Carla, you can change the amount of tension to it. If you look in my D1 video that I did, or you can just search it, but you have to pull out on the handle, raise it up slightly, and then release it, and that'll give you just a little more tension, and that may be all that you need is to just adjust that to give yourself a little more tension to it.
Yeah, I like that they changed that to kind of a triangle knob from the original. That makes it a little easier, but you do have to you have to get that set just in the right spot. Otherwise, yeah, it won't tighten down quite enough. So do
Yeah.
just what Clack said, and hopefully that'll work out for you.
And Brian said Carla's gonna make you put a barn door up. Who said they're having problems with their V35? Oh, yeah, that was Bill with the power failing. Yeah, I haven't had any problems out of mine yet, Bill, but now mine's relatively new. I've run it quite a bit, but so far it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. It hadn't lost any power that I've noticed.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot that you can do if it's losing power. It's either lens or it's the diode modules itself on the inside.
Only other thing that I mean is power. Maybe the power supply. If your power
I
supply is
mean,
starting to
could
lose power, maybe.
could be, but yeah.
Uh, oh, there's a cool one. I think I know what this one is. When I connect the laser module and turn it on, the laser comes on by itself. Wow, that sounds like a cross-wired situation.
Um,
It sounds like power wires are mixed up.
yeah, that well,
Is it possible that you put the plug in backwards? I don't know. How hard would that be to do?
um,
Ooh, somebody needs to clean their laser.
no, I was just thinking there are a few lasers that will have that on. I mean, is it Russ? When you say that, is it coming on like really high power or just a low power beam? Like the
Uh,
framing beam or something. Because
well,
if something's messed up in the setup, like there, like with the Niji, that comes on all the time on low power.
yeah.
If something got messed up in the actual profile of it, that it could be sending it that information to do that.
Yeah, the Acer V35, from my experience, the V35 or the P20, they don't just automatically come on unless you have the fire button on in Lightburn, and then it'll still time out after a few seconds.
Right.
Uh, Bill, that would depend heavily on your level of technical skills. If you had a 24-volt module and had it wired appropriately, there really isn't any reason why it wouldn't. Now you would have to come up with some way of adapting it to the frame, but uh, all these diode modules for the most part, I mean, you could just about put one on any other machine as long as you had the appropriate, pin out for the machine. It's like me and Steve have the two Nijis that we have. It has the exact same module, and the E80 module is actually used on a lot of other machines. It was the other one was the 4020. Wasn't that the one that was like on a lot of machines? I think it was the
Sure.
4020. It was whatever was on that other Niji 3 that I had. But the V35 shouldn't be doing that I'm aware of, unless there's something in the offline controller. Maybe there's a setting in there that I haven't ever seen, to where you can turn the dot on, and it's causing it to stay on. Hello, Sleeper Hound. How are you using the Z-axis control on the DG? Oh, guys, that is the best Z-axis I have seen on a laser yet, as far as a powered Z. It is simple, but I like it that way. I'm really trying to figure out how I'm going to put that thing into an enclosure, because I like the machine. I'm really digging it. It's very simple, and I'll show y'all while we're sitting here. But there it is. I've been doing some more testing with it today, playing with the focus and trying to figure out how deep I want to go when I'm cutting. It's averaging around 8 millimeters per second cuts on this 4.5 millimeter material that I've got. But the Z-axis is awesome. It works like a CNC. So if you've ever ran a CNC, when you zero the machine, it zeros X, Y, and Z. So it pulls the module all the way up. When you send a cut, it moves over, lowers the laser down to the appropriate focal distance, does the cut, goes to the next set of Z-axis, and then before it returns to home, it raises all the way up and returns back to home. And it has an extraordinarily high standoff distance from the module to the work surface. If you use their little pointed cone that it comes with, you lose some of that, but if you run the little flat like thread cover or whatever, you've got, I would say, 10 to 12 millimeters. Is that about what you're finding with yours, Steve? About 10 to 12 millimeter standoff?
So from the bottom of the module itself is about an inch, about 25 millimeters. And then, yeah, that cone or that flat thing is probably about just under half inch. So yeah, you're around 12-ish millimeters, I'd say.
But it's got some of the best standoff of any machine I've seen in a while. So, yeah, Brian, I hear you. It wasn't really that long ago. I've had to learn that, and now I'm learning. Now I'm learning the 3D printing world, which is fun but complex. Oh, and I made something.
Oh my gosh.
That's right.
Yeah, I told you you'd get a 3D printer and you just start printing a bunch of tchotchkes.
My wife made me take this to the shop because I've been kind of housebound for the past couple of days, and I just been sitting around blowing the whistle. And she's like, "Why are you blowing the whistle?" I'm like, I just like blowing the whistle. I made this whistle, but yeah. Yeah, that's where this come from, Brian. I downloaded this one off of Thingiverse. Now the rest of these little guys, like these little extrusion clips, which I used when I was setting my machine up. I used these little guys here as my test dummies because I wanted to print something that was quick to check my settings with, and so now I got like, I don't know, a whole handful of these things extra. I need to get a box to put them in. But I've designed my own little covers for the Sculpt Fun switch covers, and this is my version 1 of my extruder knob for my ender because I went with that whole black and white theme to match my logo. But I am really enjoying it. Between that, the CNCs, and the lasers, man, it's just I'm like a kid in a playground over here.
So Scott's asking, any thoughts on the Comgrow Z1 Pro? Have you looked at that one?
I have seen it, and it looks like they took the original Z1 and just made a few upgrades. From what I know of the Z1 and from what I've seen of the newer one, a lot of it's similar, but it's improved, and they kind of made it. If I'm not mistaken, they kind of made it look like a little more put together
Yeah, it looks a little more
machine.
refined, and it's a little bit bigger than their original one, I believe, too. The thing that I don't think it has is the auto air assist. It has an air assist pump with it,
Yeah,
but I think it's still manual on and off. And to me, that's one of the I wouldn't say it's a deal breaker, but I miss that more than some of these other features that you're starting to see on them.
yeah. Well, that's just like the Niji. They did not send me the automatic air assist relay for the Niji, but it does have a M7 and an M8 port. So
Yeah,
I ordered one for like $14 on Amazon. A little bit of wiring and some heat shrink, and of course I had to DIY my own little bracket for it. But I now have the Niji 4 has automatic air assist as well. So uh, well, I did some research on that. I haven't tried it yet, Martin. But from what I'm being told, basically you would have to run it more or less with CNC software to get that tool line to be able to do that, and export the G code that way. So I don't know that it's got any practical applications as a laser, in my opinion. But if you think about it, these small hobby CNCs use that CH340 controller, which is the same controller a lot of our lasers use, especially the Nijis, the Sculpt Funds. I think some of the Atom Stacks, the Longers, some of them. That CH340 controller is pretty popular. So, but basically, yeah, I could just basically run it with an easel, and it would do it. But I haven't tried that yet. That's something on my list of things I'd like to try, but I haven't done it yet.
yeah. I'm still. I mean, I understand what it can do, but I'm ever since like Xtool was pushing it with their P2 and such. I was kind of like, what's the practicality of this?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be like something I would need necessarily. I think it's a little gimmicky. And they want like, hey, our machine will do this. Okay, I've never really had a situation where I needed to do that necessarily. I guess if you're doing like a bowl, maybe, but
But again,
I just
I think
I just
just
don't do those.
I haven't seen it in implementation where it doesn't take way more time than it's worth to do that. You know,
Yeah,
um, and most of those surfaces you're not going to be flat. It's not like a true 4-axis where or a 6-axis where it's actually moving the angle of the head. It's gonna it's going to be still kind of hitting the surface of that at a bit of an angle, even though it's going to be somewhat in focus. And so, I don't know. I think it's interesting, and I'm sure, on some, expensive one-off kind of things. But I just feel like, from a business sense, that's a slow process so far.
yeah,
I'm sure someone,
yeah.
technology will move along, and someone will figure out a better, easier way to do it. But again, just trying to figure out the practicality of it.
Yeah, I mean it. Like I said, not a big selling point for me. I do like their Z-axis on the Nijis. The whole trying to use it with easel or something to make it follow a contour. I'm like you. It just at some point the usefulness of it and the delay or the headache of it is just
Yeah.
not going to be. It's not something I see me using a whole lot, except for maybe to do a video to show
Yeah.
that you can
I,
do it.
I was
You
gonna
know what I
say
mean?
it'll be good content because people are like, "Oh, I'm curious about that," but then they're like, "I don't want to do that." That took way too long.
Yeah, but yeah, it's let's see, what port's that thing running on? Com 5. So, but yeah, it's everybody's trying to come up with something that somebody else doesn't have. Matter of fact, while we're sitting here, I'm going to see if I can get this thing to connect to easel and see if I can operate it. that would be that would be cool. But anyway, all right. Questions, comments, concerns, guys. Because if I start hurting too much, I'm gonna have to call it for tonight. But y'all got any questions? Get them out there. I'm gonna play with this for a second. So if anybody has anything they want to ask, let's see. Which profile should I use? Select a manufacturer. Oh, well, that's not gonna work. We'll go with Saint Spark because I know they use the CH340. There.
I was trying to find.
All right. Somebody was commenting they used my drop test to do some wood cutting. Let's see who that was. Oh, yeah. Lori. Yeah, Lori, I try to keep things simple. Uh, so that's kind of, that's kind of where that came from. I don't like over complicating things. I just like to try to get the results that I need and go from there. Let's see, settings. What did I miss?
Brian's wondering if I'm going to have pens at the expo and if I'm going to charge for photos since I'm a famous YouTuber.
Woohoo!
Um,
Famous
well,
YouTuber.
there will probably in the woodworking world be more famous YouTubers there. um, and as a matter of fact, I'm not. Uh, I'm not. No, I actually can't charge for anything. I can't sell things where I'm at, because that was a different level of participation. And I said, no, I'll just be doing demos, and so we'll see. We'll see if I get a time to make some pens, or maybe I'll make some on site. Um, but I'm going to try to have some things to hand out. If nothing else, I do have bundles of stickers that I can hand out, and I just dropped them all over my keyboard. Um, but yeah, I am looking forward to that. That's coming up in shoot, it's just under 3 weeks now, up in the Twin Cities. It's the Minnesota Woodworkers Expo at the Canterbury Downs Expo Center. And there's a lot of tool manufacturers and makers and schools and retailers and such that are all going to be there doing things. And I'm going to be one of them there. Um, I can show this. I can share this. Here is the list of people that will be attending there. So yeah, they've got tool manufacturers, they've got materials suppliers, so Rockler, Woodcraft, Acme Tools, they're all going to be there, and then a lot of makers and creators over there. So if you're in the Twin Cities area or want to come to the Twin Cities area in middle of October, I promise you it's going to have weather that may or may not be cold. So it's looking like a pretty good event. So I'll be there with. I don't know what I'll be able to bring. Now I did end up getting some air purifiers. I've got one from Monport and I've got one from Xtool. So I should be able to run some stuff even though this is indoors. And I was testing one out today to see how well they worked. So there'll be more info on that to see how well that works in the short term and the long term. But I should be able to run some real demos. So I'll be there with at least a diode, maybe a fiber or two. I don't think I'll be dragging a CO2 along just because of the complexities of that. But there to kind of show people what you can do with it. Just talk with people, hang out, and hopefully do some walking around myself. So
Neat. Well, I hate that I'm not going to be there to see this thing. I really would.
Yeah, no, it's a growing event, and it's looking interesting this year. I'm excited to see how it they've really pushed hard to get um, more of everything. So I'm excited to be a part of it and attend it. And um, but yeah, you should come up.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think so. That's a long ride. That is a
Yes.
long ride for me.
Scott says Lightburn is rumored to announce CNC support next month, and yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to make it to um, Lightburn Experience. That's in Peoria, Illinois, coming up in just boy, it's like it'd be 1 month because it's the last weekend in October, and they closed registration a week and a half ago. Unfortunately, I've got some things going on that week that just means I can't get away for that. But they are having some sessions there talking specifically about CNC, put on by, from what I understand, are employees or people well connected with Lightburn. So I would imagine that they're likely going to kick it off there, if not right around then. So I'm curious to see what that looks like. I've used VCarve Pro for many years and it works well, but I understand that not everybody wants to make that heavy of an investment right away, and especially if you're coming in from the laser world and you're comfortable with Lightburn, that would be an easy kind of slide over into CNC, depending on how it works. So that's all going to be how that's going to be the big question is how well does it work. So I'm excited to see that. I imagine it's going to be it'll be probably an add-on license, kind of like the fiber and then the Rita versus the diode, the G code stuff. But hopefully, if history holds true, it's not going to be an expensive add-on.
Cool. Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what they come up with too. Because especially now that I am in the kind of into the CNC stuff, uh, I kind of want to see what they're gonna do with that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see
Yeah,
here.
Jack says everyone likes watching making the coins, and I'm sure they will. Um, and I'll probably bring some of that too. But knowing that this is a woodworkers expo, I want to be able to kind of blend both. I don't want to just bring non-woodworking type things, but it's also something that's a little bit easier on the ventilation. But so I've got some copper blanks. I saw your video on the zinc coins, so I might, if I get some time, I want to play around with that as well. But I also need to make sure I have some sort of enclosure visual protection that allows people to maybe watch but not get blinded. So that'll kind of also kind of direct what I'm able to demonstrate at the event. All right, so Chris is saying it's going to be a separate product with just similar looks. So yeah, that's you know I wouldn't be surprised at that either. But knowing their history of making them affordable, um, and you know, I think that'll hopefully bridge the gap, and hopefully it holds true with their other licenses where it's a perpetual license that you just have to pay for support. That's what I like about VCarve is it was a bit of a cost up front, but it's a perpetual license. I get to use it for life.
Okay, I have confirmed that you can control this laser with with easel.
Okay.
But I
You,
also have confirmed that if you hit turn on the spindle, like you would normally do,
yeah, yeah.
it will
It turns
it will
fire the
it'll
laser.
yeah, it'll put a big nasty it'll put a big nasty burn mark right there. So
Oh,
that's gonna require some work. Because it turns the laser on and does not turn it off. So yeah, that's going to require it's going to require some tweaking. But as far as moving the laser around, moves perfect with easel. Uh, but yeah, I'll have to play with that one day.
well, here's a question for you. ETLC was burning a sign on his 20-watt Comgrow, and about halfway through it stopped. Said job was finished. Any idea what happened? All his USBs are set to not shut off.
Drop packets, maybe. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is maybe it timed out on maybe the baud rate. If you check that to make sure that it is correct for communicating with the laser. Did it disconnect from the computer, or I don't know. You'd have to know whether or not the computer could still see the laser, I guess. But even if it could still see it, if it just timed out for a few minutes, then it could have reconnected shortly thereafter. That's a
So
doozy.
So yeah, the way these work is they're actually kind of streaming the file to the machine, and the machine is working through it. So it's not, depending on the buffer that's in there, um, it's not 100% real time, and that's one of the issues that you get with the estimation of time being off a little bit, is if those aren't really in sync. So yeah, if it, if the computer had some sort of hiccup, and it was trying to, it thought it was done sending it, that it may think it's done, whereas the controller was still waiting for more. I don't know. I would definitely look for any sort of issues of something, something that was causing a brief disconnect or something, because something must have broken that stream for it to end like that.
Yeah, you never know. And sometimes I've had some problems before with certain machines to where sometimes they just mess up occasionally. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's one good reason to consider running your setup on a UPS system, because it's going to do two things. It's going to prevent you from having that incident when the power suddenly goes out because the squirrel ran in the transformer, or a tree branch fell down, or whatever. But most of them also filter the power. So, if your machine had a hiccup in power, either your laptop computer or the machine itself, that can cause communication issues and a brief interruption. And it can be very bad on your electronics to have, voltage drops or spikes. And that's something also to consider when running off of a generator, is you want to make sure that it's got a clean sine wave, inverter on it, and not just some of those construction grade put out a lot of power, but it's kind of dirty power. And sensitive electronics are not going to like those spikes and drops in it. So, a good UPS can help prevent both, the power outage issue, as well as provides a cleaner stream of power to your electronics. Ah,
Oh, I got you there. I got you there, Bill.
I
Well,
I I claim I was stalked.
well, all right. Here we go. Let me take this. Well, it happened kind of like this, guys. When I first started getting into laser engravers, I had watched some videos. This, like, I don't know, Sasquatch looking guy on this channel, Vintauri's Workshop. When I first got my X Tool D1, I was doing homework and research trying to decide which machine I wanted to buy. And I watched a lot of Steve's videos. Well, then after I started making videos uh, and putting them out there, I don't remember how it happened, but one of us commented on the other one's videos or something like that. I don't know if it was me commenting on his or him commenting on me, but anyway, we kind of crossed paths that way. And then so we just basically started communicating, and like I'd have something that I was working on, and I'd message Steve, and so we wound up just basically decided, what, let's collaborate and answer some questions for people in a live, and we did our first live video, and then it just kind of stuck. I mean, and through the internet, we've become pretty good friends. We do have a lot of like shared experiences, both with in the shops, working on the machines, dealing with the companies, content creation, and let's face it, guys, where I live, there's not very many people that I can sit down and talk to about, working with lasers and making YouTube videos. There's people that make YouTube videos, there's people that work with lasers, but there's not a lot of people that do both. So it's just, it started like that. And we've just, like I said, we've just kind of kept it going. I like to think that we kind of just bring the North and the South together. You know what I mean? Or the Midwest. I'm sorry, Midwest.
Well, we're
But
we're north. There's parts of
yeah,
Canada that are south from me, so
but yeah, it's like I said, it was just we just started working together on some of the laser machines, and then we just started collaborating on other stuff, and now if I've got something that stumps me, or if I'm having problems figuring something out, I'll call Steve, and then he can do the same. Because a lot of times we'll have the same machine coming to us, uh, and I'll get mine first, or he'll get his first. And sometimes there's that little niche thing that you find that's like, okay, this is going to drive you nuts, trying to figure this one out. So it's just like I said, but I mean, he's a pretty cool dude most days. So we just keep hanging out. Uh, but it's like I said, that's about how it came. But
yeah.
Steve had been doing YouTube a lot longer than I had, so I was really really new at it, and so he had a lot more experience.
Yeah. No, it's funny. It's kind of been a theme of mine, you know, probably from college on, or at least when I was married. Carla's always commented, it was like, "Oh, this is another one of your internet friends. You're gonna go meet." Because that's been, this has happened to me in a lot of different scenarios where online you start sharing in a group of like-minded people. So it's been with RC hobbies, it's been with motorcycles, it's been with various things like lasers and workshop stuff, where I've gotten to know people online quite a bit first. Have had a lot of conversations, whether it's through instant messaging, video chats, phone calls, and such. And in some cases, it's been years. I would consider people fairly good friends, but I've hadn't seen them in person.
Yeah,
Chris over at A Glimpse Inside is one of those that, I mean, I've known him, since he was really young on YouTube, and we've talked back and forth, phone called, chatted and whatnot, and then after I hung out with Clack and went to my airplane show, I zipped down to Florida and saw him for the first time, probably since 5-6 years that I've known, and kind of started calling him a friend and such. So yeah, it's been kind of a theme with mine as I end up finding people. But yeah, you're right. I tend to look around, and part of being engaged in YouTube is interacting with people outside your own channel as well. And I like to follow others that are doing similar things, like Clack and um, Steve with Hobo with Wood, and Steve Makes Everything, Rich, LA Hobby Guy. I try to support them as well, and some of that's just watching and commenting and whatnot. And yeah, I think like you said, I think you were doing a random live one night, and I just kind of hopped on and was answering people's questions too, and so we started talking outside of that and in this
yeah,
form. So
yeah. But like I said, guys, it's especially in my current situation, and Steve's probably the same way. Is I go to work, I come home, and I work out here. So I don't like go play golf. I don't go to football games. I don't. I basically you guys. I communicate with you guys more than I do most everybody else around, other than my family. So it's just the way it is for me. I don't like I said, I'm not a big social butterfly when it comes to like hanging out on the weekends. I would rather spend time in my shop making things or doing something with the lasers or 3D printers than I would sitting and watching a ball game with 10,000 other people. I just that kind of stuff it just doesn't appeal to me. Uh, this is my thing.
yeah, that's definitely you experience it once or twice, but anymore, even movies come out that I really want to watch, I'll be like, I'll wait till I can watch it at home, relaxed, and I don't, even ones that I want to see. There's I was a big Indiana Jones fan as a kid, and Still haven't seen the latest movie, and I've got other things going on, whether it's this or my model
Yeah.
airplane stuff. I'd rather hang out with a select few people that I really like than gobs of others.
Oh yeah,
But
now don't get me wrong. When I was younger, I mean, I went through the whole going out with your buddies and stuff like that. But guys, working in the shop is my therapy. And doing what I do and working with the public and dealing with some of the people I have to deal with. At the end of the day, to be honest with you, the last thing I want to be doing is sitting around with a bunch of total strangers around me. Because the ones of you that don't know, my job and what I've done in my career with law enforcement, I can't go sit in a movie theater and watch a movie without, every time a shadow moves or somebody gets up and comes into the movie theater thinking, okay, here it goes, or sitting in a restaurant or something like that. And you're always on guard because you feel like it's your job to make sure if somebody comes in that room that you address it. And especially when you have your family with you, my family knows get low, go to cover, you know, don't look for me, I'll find you later. But, you know, that's the kind of stuff when I'm in a public place, that's the kind of stuff that goes through my head. And I can't, you can't cut it off. And so being in large crowds and in public, it's a little taxing because you're constantly evaluating, looking at for bulges, looking for, concealed weapons, looking for body armor, looking for it is exhausting when you're in a crowd of 10,000 people. So I would prefer to stay right here in my little shop.
I, yeah, and I mean, I don't have quite that level of response. My responsibility is far different. I'm a CIO and director of IT services for a local community college, and part of the state system of colleges that we get into a lot of stuff and we deal with a lot of people. Um, for me, there's nothing more satisfying than coming home and being able to work with something physically and see at the end of that, it's like, this is what I've done, this is what I made. There's so many days that I spend either in management meetings or in budget meetings, or even if I'm working on a computer, it's code, it's digits, it's kind of non-tangible things that you
Yeah.
can't like show someone, this is what I did all day and this is why I'm tired, even though I've been mostly sitting in a chair or whatnot.
Yeah.
It is definitely therapeutic to be able to get out into the shop, work with some tangible things, be able to you know I'm like a little kid, I'm like, hey Carla, look what I made. That's cute, why don't you go back and make something else.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's like this,
yeah,
It's like you think of something and you're like, that'd be cool, and then you sit down and you make it, and it's like, wow, that's pretty awesome. It's that's just the way my mind works. Maybe I'm messed up, but obviously you guys are the same way, or y'all wouldn't be watching us talk.
yeah. So Um, back to some questions though. Thad's asking, is the best way to learn Lightburn just by experimenting with it, trial and error? I would say to a point. You can't be afraid to jump in and just play, and you do have to plan. Even if you know what you're doing on a new project or a new piece of material, just plan. I'm gonna experiment and do some tests on it. That being said, I would definitely do a little bit of research. YouTube I mean, people joke it's YouTube University. You can get so much free learning online, and especially through things like YouTube, where you do have to vet the information a little bit and you know be a little questioning of some more dubious things. Do some due diligence on certain things, but at some point it is just kind of getting in and experimenting. You obviously want to kind of get a basis of, this is something safe to do versus that's not safe to do, because there are some things you technically can do with lasers, such as cutting vinyl records, that you should never do with lasers. There are other tools that are better for that are going to be hazardous to yourself and your machine. That's an area where I would definitely not want you to be experimenting with, because it's at best it's going to ruin your machine. At worst, it's going to cause you some serious health issues. Um, but yeah, it's a balance of get some information to get you started, and then jump in and play around. And for me, I do best by like having a project in mind. Like, I want to make a gift box of sorts, and that gives me kind of the start of it, and then I'll start looking around at maybe ideas for inspiration of what I want to recreate, or projects that are out there that maybe someone can has walked you through it, or even has files that you could just start modifying yourself. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would recommend. Get in there, go get the basics, figure the basics out. Get in there and start working with stuff. And when you hit one of those little hard spots to where it's like, okay, I don't exactly know how to do this, then just go search it out and find it. Like I said, Rich over at LA Hobby Guys, probably one of the more plethora of Lightburn tutorial videos that you'll find. And Rich really knows his way around Lightburn. And then once you learn those two or three things, then go back and just keep. You're not gonna fully understand it, in my opinion, unless you get behind the controls and do it yourself some. But you do need to research and learn. I still learn things daily, uh, with especially now that I've started all these other little hobbies. But yeah, Brian, this is for the extruder for my 3D printer. It came with a blue one, and I went with that whole black and white theme on my printer, and so I didn't like the blue knob being there, so I went ahead and made me a white one. I built it in Fusion 360, and then took it in there and put it on the machine. So let me see if I can save this. I'll save this picture. I'll show y'all the picture of what my machine looks like for the ones of you that haven't watched my video. But there is a video that I did today, kind of about where I'm at with my 3D printer setup and how it's going. I did add the Sonic pad to it, which a lot of people was like, yeah, that machine that you've got is not going to be that fast, even with the Sonic pad. But guys, the speed boost was like my number two concern and my number two motivation for getting the Sonic pad. It was more so for me to be able to actually control the machine from out here. That was my main reason for getting it, and it's doing a really good job for that. So let me pull this picture up here. But yeah, there is my current 3D printer configuration, and right here, that's this knob here. But I did a version 2, which I did a little bit more playing with the detail. But I printed all these little slat inserts and so forth, and put my Clack Shack sticker on there. Just putting my own little custom flair on the machine. So apparently that's the thing that you do. Everybody's 3D printer I see has these cool accents and stuff. So I just did it. That, and like I said, I've been kind of bound to the house for the past couple of days trying to get this back straightened out.
you're such a follower.
Oh, I like it. I wanted a Clack Shack custom. It's just like, hey, look, check out that
I
spoilboard. Well, you
I
can't see
kind of
it
would
now.
have expected it to be orange, but no.
Well, I don't have any orange filament. If I had orange filament, it might have been orange.
Well, 10 minus 9 is asking, well, first off, good evening from Colorado. Is Lightburn superior enough over Creative Space to justify the purchase? Well, you know, y- y- I've been using Lightburn since way before I even looked at diodes. So when I switched, what was it back then? Laserbox was what they called.
Laserbox Basic.
Yeah. Uh, that was interesting, but I was kind of like very happy that I could still use Lightburn with mine. I've since been playing around with Creative Space with the F tool or the X Tool F1, and it's decent. It's a good software to at least it takes away the noise, lets you focus on a few things, but that also kind of limits you a little bit in some of the capabilities and the customization of your jobs, and there's just the way it visualizes layers and other things. There's a lot more options in Lightburn. The other big plus to it is it's it's not used on every single laser out there, but I would say 85 to 90% of lasers out there, until you get into some of the very specialized ones, some very high end ones, or some kind of very left field ones. Lightburn is going to work with most lasers. Now you may have to change the the type of, you might have to upgrade your license for it, but um, like I can use it on my larger CO2 laser. I can use it on all these diode lasers, and I've been able to use it also on the fiber laser. Um, so if you ever jump out from, if you're looking to upgrade or replace your laser, and at the time maybe an X tool machine isn't the best fit for you, and you've already been playing with Lightburn, it's going to be an easy move to bring your files right into a new laser, and hit the ground running with it. So it's not, for the cost of $60 upfront, and then that's a perpetual license. That's fairly inexpensive compared to others. I mean, you look at CNC software, and I paid over 600 for VCarve. You could pay $10-12 a month for some of the others. So I think for the $60 investment on it, and the fact that it is used so widely by others, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, and like I said, XCS is a far cry from what Xtool used to use with LaserBox Basic. I mean, they have added a lot more
Mhm.
functionality to it, a lot more tools. But yeah, I'm the same way with you. See, I run different lasers, multiple lasers, and I learned Lightburn pretty early on because at the time, you know, LaserBox Basic didn't offer very many things. I did use it for tumblers for quite a while because it did a really good job with the X tool. But uh, but yeah.
And as Scott just pointed out again, and I always forget to remind people of it, they have a 30-day trial on it, and that is the full software. I mean, it's not a limited trial. It's fire it up and do whatever you want with it. And so if you're not sure about it, watch a few videos, download the trial, try it out, and see what you think.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about expensive? Go get some CNC software. I learned that one the hard way.
Yeah.
Woo. uh, Rob, I have figured out the way of doing it. I'm still trying to figure uh, other machines, other like things on the market, but I'm trying to get a video put together on it. I've actually got a jig system set up in my Monport now in the 40 watt, and it works really well. Now it is smaller, but basically, as long as you have a stationary base, the way that I've been doing it is just I'm securing the jigs to the base of the machine, just like I do with the other ones. But since like my CO2 doesn't have legs to secure it to, basically I have got me some index holes into my little table that holds it up, and I use these awesome little skewer sticks right here. I just break off a piece of it and basically use those as kind of like alignment pins, so that whenever I put one of those panels in there, it is always in that particular location. So if I make a jig and I go to put it back in there, I can open that file and it's already set up. And I've made a couple of them. I've got to get the video completed, but machines keep coming in and stuff keeps coming up, and then I had this whole back pain thing. But this is the panel, and basically, these are my alignment holes that just basically in the file, those are already in there, and so then I just use these little sticks. But I have other options to include some 3D printed pins for different size honeycombs. So depending on what size the honeycomb is in your machine or the workspace or whatever, you could cut larger holes here and use those. But that's kind of where I'm going with this, with what I'm trying to do, and it seems to be working pretty well. But I just got to figure out how to make it to where you could, either use, if you don't have a 3D printer, you could use some type of dowel or a piece of wood. And if you do have a 3D printer, I got to get all the files built and all that kind of stuff to go with it. So it's a work in progress, but it has made the Monport a lot more usable. And I did this is for coasters. It works for square or round. So you only have to cut one hole, and then the round ones will set in here as well as the square ones. And so I've got the coaster jig file built, and I used 1/8 inch material on this because it's so small. It's not a lot of warping going on, and so that's where I'm at with that. I need to finish that video. I've started the video, but I haven't got it done yet. And of course, I did some little pet tags also on this jig, and I just left all this room for other items so that I can run them on the CO2. But basically, same principle, just holding the panel still so that it's always in the same place. But anyway, there's where I'm at on that. But I've also been working on with the Mon Port some acrylic stuff for Christmas. Some of the designs that I did the other day, I cut them out on the Mon Port. So trying to dial in my settings for this material. But like I said, I've got like 3 or 4 videos started but not finished. I've been squirreling a little bit, guys. What can I say?
I know that feeling.
But yeah. But basically, it all comes down with the other machines is just you have to have a reference point built into the machine for the files, and once you do that, everything should line up perfectly.
So we've got Forget Me Not Woodworks or Woodcrafts in here. He's asking, is anyone have problems with the LaserMaster 3 after adding the extensions? Now, that's one you did with Klein, right?
Yeah, there's only one problem you're going to have if you don't fix it, and that is the fact that you'll have to hit the home button twice. That's the only problem that I know of. But of course, I knew that I knew to set it, so we actually set it before, uh, you know, before trying to use it. We went ahead and changed it. What kind of problems are you having for Get Me Not?
Yeah, I got to find out because I'm not doing the LM3, but I got to do the Atom Stack 830 for my friend. He says it's missing steps.
I will say with the one that we did now, the one we did, I did it a little bit differently. Y'all know I like using my jig panels, and I actually made 2 jig panels. And we put the one, secured it in the enclosure, got the machine, set it in there with the feet secured into the jig panel, into the lock-in panel. And I took a square and I confirmed that everything was square, and then put screws in the other end to keep the legs from being able to shift, because anytime you start extending these machines, you are going to have a greater chance that it's going to get out of square if you press against it or move it. So unless it's out of square, the belts aren't tensioned, or the timing linkage is out of adjustment, it shouldn't be. Klein hasn't had any problems out of his, but now, like I said, we put it together, locked it into the enclosure. I mean, we did everything we can to make sure that it's not it wasn't going to be out of square, and couldn't get out of square if it tried to. Same thing as with my enclosure beside me over here. Oh, see if I can add a camera.
So going back to our earlier conversation about filament storing, Norbert did post some photos in our Facebook community group of his setup. And for anyone that isn't in there, drop the link there in chat. And if you're on my YouTube channel, it should be in the description. Facebook.com laser engraving community group. It's kind of a cool setup he's got going there. The pneumatic connector and a sealed serial container. So definitely worth checking out for kind of a DIY setup.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only other setting that I know of, Chris, is the I guess it's 132, the Max Y. Yeah, you do have to change that, or you have to double tap the home button. That's really the only problem that causes. But obviously, that's not causing it to miss steps or get off. All right, questions, comments, concerns. But yeah, there's been some pretty cool stuff in the group. I saw, who was it the other day that was what was that thing that they made? I'm losing my mind. I don't forgot what you call it.
You talking
Oh
about the
well, well the sleigh competition. I guess everybody like man. I didn't that turned into like they some folks come out with some really cool sleighs. And I like to think that I helped inspire that. But some of these guys, man, the work like the multi layers, hiding all the connection points. I mean, that's some pretty awesome stuff. That made me feel kind of shameful of my little simple sleigh that I did.
Yeah, but those things are kind of neat, and maybe that's something we should do is have some friendly competitions of, hey, here's an idea, and have everybody kind of make their spin on it, and then we can learn from each other's ideas and how they tackled that problem. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's again going back to how we met. I like checking out what other people are doing and getting ideas from them, and that definitely has spurred on some pretty cool iterations of sleighs and such.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's so. I guess maybe we need to work that in. We need to be like, okay, make a whatever, like you said, and we'll post photos and then just see who can get creative with it. But I'm about to step my game up though, which I did. In my defense, I did do that design relatively simple because I wanted to do like a step by step video of how to make it. But man, some of these guys, I'm like, wow, I should have, I should have stepped my game up. They really, really did a good job. I think I don't remember if it was who it was, but he had like cut pieces to trim it out to cover up all the connection points. I mean,
Mhm.
I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Uh,
Jeff's asking about he's looking at building his own portable shack to try his luck at craft fair. Wondering about doing indoors with the laser, and is the Comgrow smoke absorber sufficient? And suggestions for indoors versus outdoors. So a little bit of there.
uh, I avoid doing engraving indoors. The Comgrow will get. I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by indoors. Is it a rodeo arena or is it a small building? It's going to depend on that first of all, because if you're in like a rodeo arena or something like that, then yeah, the Comgrow might be sufficient. As long as there's plenty of air. But typically, I always like when I go to May May. She's got her open house event coming up here soon. Uh, I go out on the sidewalk. I'm under the canopy out on the sidewalk. Now, last year I about froze to death because it was cold that day. But I go outside because that way I don't have to worry about it. I avoid anything indoors if I'm going to be actually running the machine uh, because it's there's always that possibility that you're engraving inside and somebody walks by and suddenly has an episode and they want to try to say that it's toxicity. Yeah, it's just I think the risk of doing it inside, especially in the today's climate where everybody's allergic to everything and affected by everything. I think it's better to probably just to stay outside in open air and not directly in like so that people don't have to walk right past my stuff. They can walk around if they want to, just as a precaution. So.
So yeah, and I'll echo what you said. It's going to depend on the venue. So the thing I'm going to this expo, it's in a large space that they host large events. I mean, it's not like a ballroom or a store area. It's kind of an expo center. They've got large roll up doors that people I if I go at the right time, I'll be able to drive my vehicle right to where I'm going to be
Yeah.
setting up, and but then there's going to be CNC machines, there's going to be other stuff running. It's kind of the environment where people are going to excuse this a little bit.
Yeah.
um that being said, I mentioned a little bit earlier that I've got the Monport air purifier. I've got the X Tool air purifier for both the D1 as well as the F1, and I just started testing them this week. And I will say and I have the Comgrow unit. That unit really is a repurposed soldering station fume extractor. It's meant for a lot lower volume of stuff. Um, it doesn't move as much air as I'd like. The the Mon port and the Mon port and the X tool move a lot more air, and they have much larger filter boxes in them. So I'm a little more. I'll have a little more faith in them, but I don't have enough experience to with them just yet to say yes, they do filter enough that it's not going to be, uh, noticeable. But I did run one down in my basement shop on a couple of jobs for about an hour here tonight, and I will say that my eyes weren't burning. I wasn't noticing smoke. It's hard to tell whether I'm smelling the lingering smell of the stuff on my other. You get the residue and the stuff on your honeycombs and other things, so you kind of have that. I just call it the essence of campfire. um in your workspace anyway. But I notice it, like, even out in my garage. If I just run a quick test on a laser that's not in the enclosure and I haven't opened anything up yet, it doesn't take long for a 24 by 30 space to start feeling a little smoky. And then my basement area is smaller than that yet. So um, I'm hopeful that they will do a decent enough job that for some minor stuff at the show, I'll be able to do it. Now, how long will these filters last? I don't know, because the X Tool ones, I mean, for their unit, I think it's like $140 to replace it's a 3-stage filter pack. So if it lasts 8 hours on one filter, then no thanks. But if you can get, a good, you know, be nice to get. I don't know. I'm not sure where that would be a reasonable cost. But for this kind of environment where you're looking at doing things on site, if it's the occasional use where normally you can vent it outside, but this is, when you're going to sites like that and you're going to use it sporadically through a show, maybe that, however long that lifespan of those filters is going to be worth it, because everyone knows being able to customize on site is a huge. Well, Clack mentioned that he had other laser people asking him to make stuff for him them at shows because they weren't getting sales. So
Yeah. Let's see here. My question moved. All right. Forget me not. The only thing really, if you're adding the 20-watt Comgrow head to the LM3, the only thing that you're going to need to do, and you might can get away without doing it, but you're going to need to change your work size, your workspace size. I can't remember, but I think I changed mine by 20 millimeters, because you're going to lose a pretty substantial amount of work area with that larger module. If you don't change the size of your work area, you run the risk of having a collision on the sides and the front of the machine. I think it was mostly the front, but what you're going to want to do is just run out there and check that thing. I did a video of the Comgrow 20-watt module on a LM3, and I may have mentioned how far I set mine off in that video if you want to go look for that. But you will have a problem with rail strikes if you don't resize the work area, because that module is a lot thicker than that 10-watt module that comes with the LM3. That's a good question, but it's going to depend on what you're wanting to do, because the P2, that's a big price gap between the two. Are you choosing between the two, or are you wanting to get one of each? That would be my question, because those are two totally different animals.
yeah, and there are other options besides the P2 you could also look at. I mean, the P2 is a fine laser from as far as, they pack a lot into that package. It is quite a bit bigger than our typical diodes and such, but the working area isn't huge. I think you'd have a larger working area with the Niji Max 4 by just a bit. But with the P2, you do open up a lot of options for cutting different materials you can't with the diode. The acrylic's going to be much easier with that. Your speeds are going to be much faster. But it's also, you've kind of got the P2 on one hand is very much pull it out of the box and use it. there's some things you can do, but the Nijis are great, except for you got to kind of figure out how you want to set it up, where you want things. You have to mount it. You don't have to, but we found our recommendation is definitely you're going to want to mount it to a board, and then you're probably going to want to build an enclosure around that. So, and as Clack mentioned, the price difference is pretty great there. I haven't looked too closely at it, but Thunder Laser just came out with a new desktop style machine that looks very interesting, and I think it's going to give the P2 a run for the money. It's their Bolt. It's a 30-watt RF machine, which means there's no there's no water chill. You're not gonna. It's all air cooled. You're not gonna overheat it. And it looks like very interesting performer at about $5,000. So
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's two. In my opinion, that's two total different spaces. You start
mhm.
talking about the P2 and the Niji 4. I mean, that's woo. That's a big price gap.
Right. No, I think, and it really, those are kind of getting above the hobbyist wanting to have fun. Unless you're one of those people that, if you've got that kind of hobby money, I want to be your friend, right? Um, this is more of you're seriously looking at a business. You're looking at which one's going to give you a return on investment or paying you back, what's going to give you the most flexibility in what you're doing and speed. So you're getting into, when you're looking at the P2 or the Bolt or anything like that, that's definitely you either have a very serious hobby or you're starting to get into business.
Mark, in my opinion, that's just a good use of tools, sir. That way, they're perfectly the same size. I mean, I cut all kinds of stuff with the lasers,
I
but
mean, I've marked out pies for slicing on the laser, right? You got to be exact, otherwise people are going to fight over the pie.
yeah, yeah. I mean, lasers are awesome. I almost want to bring a pizza and see if I can cut a pizza into slices with a
I've
laser.
seen it done.
Oh, have it? Somebody's done it already? Oh,
Yeah, yeah, because I've had friends send me videos of that. I'm like, yeah, I'm not, no, not doing that.
yeah. But yeah, it's amazing what you can do. Like I said, I've got a supposedly another machine that's going to be here before too long that I'm really anxious to try out. Uh, and like I said, I really wasn't expecting the Niji 4 to show up. They had reached out to me, like, whenever they reached out to you, what was it, like 3 or 4 months ago?
Hmm.
And I hadn't heard anything from them. And then my neighbor calls me and said I had a package at their house. Because apparently somebody mislabeled the address. So it went to one of my neighbor's house. So they called me to come pick it up. But yeah, it's I'm trying to slow that down a little bit, but some of these new machines that are coming out, guys, are just very intriguing. Oh, Steve got by the F1. He just had to try it. So,
Yeah,
and it's turned out to be a cool little event machine, I think.
I think so, and then that's uh, I'm hopefully going to get my video finished up here in the next couple days, but I keep playing around with it. And yeah, I think from a small portable engraving some things at an event, that F1 actually does a pretty good job at most things that I think you would want to do at an event. It's not something that you're going to use to cut a lot of material with. You can, I mean, it's got the 10-watt diode laser in it, the UV laser, and then it's got the 2-watt IR, which you think that's not much, and it isn't. But for marking, if you have pre-cut blanks that you just want to put a light engraving on, you're not going to be making the deep cuts on the coins like Jack was in his video, but I did a quick little cut on just some 3 millimeter acrylic where I made kind of like a keychain thing, and the engraving was quick. The cut was actually fairly smooth, and it took under 2 minutes to do the whole operation. That's that's like that's just the perfect. You're at an event, you can run that through really quick. They have their little portable fume extractor as well. Again, I'm testing that out to see how well that functions. But yeah, I think, as far as if that's what you're doing, you're going to events and you want to be able to engrave on some small items. The other thing, and this is something to consider, not just the smoke, but the light. You got to make sure that people wandering by your booth or waiting there are not going to get flashes of laser light, and that X tool has that kind of green shroud that slides down over the whole thing, and does a pretty good job at protecting. There's not a lot of possibility for light leakage there. So yeah, I think from of an event type laser, that's an awesome one. And I was kind of I've been having fun with it, and it's gonna be great for me to take to this woodworking expo as well, because it doesn't take up a lot of space, and it can show both metal and wood, leather, acrylic with it. So
Yeah, I just found another comment that I missed earlier. I don't have a Rolly Lasermatic, but like I said, I'm working on a video, guys, that'll basically, for some of these all-in-one machines, I'm hoping that you'll be able to kind of outfit your own panel, so to speak. And then if you wanted to use item files or whatever, but that's what I'm working on. But I don't even know the inner. I don't know how inside of a Rolly works. I don't know if the honeycomb is fixed or if it's floating in there. Or there's a lot of variables that goes into them when you get into those machines like that. But I've got one that's similar that possibly could be coming, but I don't know if it's not gonna be the same.
yeah, that's an interesting thing coming forward. Is I think I think there's a few more all enclosed lasers coming out, and that's going to definitely change how things like your jigs work. But
Hmm.
it's also an interesting. I think it's good because that moves them closer to more of like a class 2, class 1, where it's actually trying to you know protect people from the laser light, and they have things that you may or may not be able to disable that. If the lid is opened, it turns off, things like that. Because as fun as these lasers are, and as much as I think people should play around with them, the marketing around some of these has just been ridiculous. The guy engraving on his coffee table and the dog walks by. I'm like, oh, but don't worry, we've got tilt protection. I'm like, well, you've blinded every animal in the room with the flashes, and besides the smoke that's going to be rolling off that thing. So it's good to see some of these more enclosed, purpose built, but less expensive. Your typical CO2 has always been kind of an enclosed, unless you built it yourself outside of that. And there have been some larger ones that are gantry based, but those generally are commercial ones that people are given training and awareness about. But these consumer ones, you got to be a little more protective of your customer base, or they're all going to go blind.
Yeah. Well, Chris, that's good to know if it is a fixed honeycomb. That would make it easier. But like I said, I'm working on that. I just got to get around to doing it as far as putting something together on how to set those up. Uh, how to really set up. Yeah, if it's got static corners, like if you've got a machine to where you have a corner in there somewhere that you can build a panel to reference off of, that's really all you need. You don't. The whole objective is that you have a fixed point that is attached to that machine that will never change, and you basically are referencing off of it, whether it's connected to it, pushed up against it, or whatever the case may be. That's if you can do that, then you're golden. Uh, and like I said, a lot of the bigger CO2 machines, if you have that corner that you can just reference index off that corner, you're good to go. So okay, so Brian's saying it has a built-in jig setup. Yeah, all they would really have to do to make that work would just be to add like a little corner bracket, like a L bracket in the corner of the workspace near the edge, and you could just make your panel, index them off of it, and it would work. with those fixed honeycomb machines, it's a lot easier than it is with like the diodes where you're having to place your honeycomb under your machine and stuff like that. So, yeah, that'd be interesting to see. Yeah, Mark saying it's got fixed standoffs. That's just like with the fibers. Me and Steve both have these fibers, and you have the screw holes in the bed, and then you have these little guys. Uh, if they did something similar to that, that's really all you need is like two of these corners right here. That's it. I mean, and you can make it work. After that, it's just all about file design and saving.
Well, any last questions for us? We're kind of sneaking up here on 2 hours, and
Yeah, and I love
looks like
y'all, but
looks like you need to get in your inversion table or something.
no, I'm not getting on it tonight. I got on it last night and almost couldn't walk after I got off of it.
Mm.
I'm gonna go in there and ice pack and try to get some sleep because last night, man, medicine would wear off and I'd wake up about to scream. So yeah, I've got a big day tomorrow. Got to get up early in the morning, drive all the way to Birmingham, and let's just pray that this thing is successful and my pain level subsides because I'm really tired of this whole leg cramp thing. Play Batman. Oh, hang upside down.
Yep.
Yeah, I have to avoid heat. My doctors have told me that with the nerve being the way that it is, to avoid heat. So I don't know. I'm just doing what they tell me.
Yeah, well, if it's that preformis muscle, there's some stretches that hopefully you've been taught that can really help that out as well.
Yeah, well, the nerve getting pinched, and then it's just a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, I was there a few years ago with that, just shooting pain down your leg and such from it, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, it's no fun. So, but so well, here's one from John. Uh, saw this earlier. We missed it. He's working with a anniversary gift. He's got a original color wedding photo using Lightburn. Adjusted the image. Tried on basswood, cherry, poplar, and slate. The background is too bright and not as sharp as would hope. So I guess it depends on if the background really needs to be part of the photo or not. I would try running that through a background removal tool first, and then you can just focus on the subject of adjusting your image that way. Um, if you need the background and it's too bright, sometimes some of those photos are just, you almost have to then get really complicated with them. You're going to have to kind of split out the background from the foreground and individually adjust them, and that gets into kind of advanced photo editing techniques.
All right, what's up with this Chadley person? All right, let's fix that. All right, don't come in here spamming. Lesson learned.
Um, but from there, yeah, a lot of times, Lightburn you can do a lot with for adjusting the photos. But I like to play with them a bit outside of that if I'm really struggling with it. So, you might want to try the, what is it, Imgur,
Imager, whatever.
Imager. Yeah,
It depends on where you're from.
yeah. There's they've got some pretty good tools that can sometimes, you can put in your parameters of what you're trying to do, and they have those. They're free and their paid version, and it might be worth it for a specialty photo like this if you're having trouble using the Lightburn controls. Try running it through that, and then when you do run it through that, though, when you bring it back into Lightburn, you want to make sure you check that pass through button on the image settings. Otherwise, it'll try to do more processing within Lightburn. The pass through tells it to ignore any of the Lightburn stuff. So,
Yeah. Yeah, guys, I don't. it took me a minute to realize that that was a spam or whatever the heck was going on with that. But I don't know what it is with people thinking that stuff like that, like bothers me. I mean, I get these comments sometimes, and it's just like, okay, seriously, but whatever. But now, guys, I blocked that whatever his name was, Chadley or whatever. So y'all won't be seeing that no more. Sorry, it took me a minute, but I was trying to find it.
Yeah, it's not easily built into this tool. You kind of got to go over into YouTube and get at it. But
No, actually, I found it. If you click the three dots on the comment, there's actually a block list.
oh, look at that. Oh, well,
You
let
can
me try it. Let me
even
try it on. Let me try it on Brian. No, I mean,
yeah.
Chris. Yeah, Imager. I get that mixed up because there's also a photo hosting site called Imgur or something like that. That that's more of a photography site, and so I'm always kind of jumping between the two and mispronounce them and such. So
Brian wants to know what did he do.
he's a guinea pig, right?
Yeah, Brian's kind of the catch-all.
Well, now you've done it. I got a warning saying I need to reload my page. Oh, it went away.
Well,
Anyway,
that's because I added that guy just in case he comes in from Facebook. I added him to the blacklist on Restream.
all right.
So, yeah, we won't have to worry about that guy no more.
Um, Yeah, Mark says there's an app on the iPhone. Juxtaposer is pretty good at cutting things out of images. A lot. I mean, even Snapseed on is a mobile app, but even the native photo apps on both iPhone and Android have gotten really good at being able to process and take things out of them. So, don't feel like you have to spend money on a special application to kind of get your photos working right. That obviously there's a lot of people who like and can afford those tools. But there's a lot of free ones out there that'll do some good with playing around with. So
Yeah. Well, hello there, Eddie from Japan. I tell you, we're getting people from all over nowadays. One thing I would say too is before you bring the image over into Lightburn, no matter what program you have, whether it's the Windows program or the Mac program or whatever, if you'll go ahead and turn it to a grayscale before you bring it in, I have a little better luck because they have a little stronger, I guess, processing power. Those programs do, and it seems to do a little better. I changed them to grayscale, and then I kind of raised the contrast up a little bit before bringing them into Lightburn, and really don't have to do much of anything to them once I get them in there.
mm-hmm.
Uh, so, and like I said, most any program, like you said, it doesn't have to be real high speed to be able to do a good job of processing them. Hello, Don from Iowa. Yeah, you're catching the tail end of it there, Don. we've got to kind of cut it short tonight, or I say cut it short. We're almost at 2 hours, but you can always go back and watch the replay or listen to it, whichever you choose.
Well, do I have to stay late since I didn't quite come on time?
I mean, you were late getting here, but I got to stretch this back. just,
Yeah.
I'm just getting old,
Nope.
guys. That's all there is to it. Oh, and it
Well,
is terrible. It's terrible, but I'm gonna have to take some time off this week after having this thing. So I don't know. I can't be driving, so I can't go to work Monday or Tuesday. So I guess I'm just gonna have to like sit in the house and make files and 3D print some stuff or something.
yeah. Et yeah, if you use GIMP, that's going to do some basic photo processing, but it's not going to apply like the actual dithering process to it, like Imager will or Lightburn will. So you wouldn't necessarily turn the pass through on that. But if you're doing something purpose like through Imager or another laser preparation tool, then you might turn the pass through on. So, but I guess I have to bring donuts next week. Now you're just starting to sound like my staff at work, and you can ask them how much I bring treats. once in a blue moon.
Yeah, Brian wants to know if there's a contest tonight to see how many for people to pay attention to how many times Carla walked by. Hey, Steve must have her working because she has went by
Um,
there a few times. Now
I,
I've missed it because I've been watching the chat, but yeah,
um,
he's up there to
well,
work.
yeah, I see. I'm completely oblivious to it because it's behind me. So
Yeah.
no, the I don't know, the chest freezer's back there. She was probably just getting some ice cream or something. So, but
Well,
anyway,
well, guys, if you haven't already, first of all, most importantly, go like, follow, and subscribe to mine and Steve's pages there. And guys, if y'all haven't, please go help me out with Facebook because my Facebook is struggling. I'm trying to get my numbers up on the Facebook side of things. Facebook, I understand, some people don't like to stream on Facebook, but Facebook is the best way to message me because a lot of people want to message me through Etsy, and that's, kind of bothersome. But if you need to message me, you can message me through my Facebook page. That is the preferred method. That way I can, we can send pictures and all that, and it doesn't really uh, tie up my Etsy page. But Steve's got a Facebook page. I've got one, and if you would just help us get those things on up there because you never know if something was to happen with YouTube, and that might be the only place you can find the Clack Shack. You never know. Hopefully that won't happen, but you never know.
you never know, indeed. So, well, yes, definitely uh, like the videos on any platforms you can because that helps. Subscribe to both of us if you wish. Um, I always enjoy having people getting our content and interacting with us. And join the Facebook group if you like that. There is a lot of fun stuff going on over there. It's a growing group. I think we're a little over 800 now, and people are sharing a lot of projects and ideas, and questions are getting answered even without Clack and I. So
Oh yeah.
definitely a way to. We try to keep the group positive, not salesy. The other night, actually, Hobo asked me, he's like, "Hey, is it okay if I post our live stream? We're going to be giving away some files." And I said, "Yeah, that's the kind of stuff we you're in there helping other people. You're spreading good information. You're not just jumping in and trying to make a buck off each other." So we do filter out some of the spam and the straight up salesy stuff. We want to keep it kind of as a collaboration and a community page. So feel free to share your videos and such. If you get a little too salesy, we'll let you know. But we've only
Give
had to.
more than give more than you receive.
Yes. So, but anyway, we should definitely give Clack a break here. So thanks everyone for another fun live stream. We'll be back at it next week. In the meantime, you will see us online in our various medias.
Yep, depending on how many days off I get. If I get too bored, guys, I may be just sitting in the living room talking to you guys on a live in my little because I've got a really nice computer desk chair in there that's pretty comfortable. But I think I'm gonna for the first part of tomorrow. I'm probably gonna have to lay on the bed with an ice pack. So well, we'll see how that goes. Uh, it's just really crimping my style, guys. But I appreciate it. Just keep me in your prayers if they don't mess me up tomorrow. Uh, and maybe everything will get better and I can get back out here because it really bothers me not to be able to stay out here like all day. But it's just not possible right now. But yeah, like, follow, subscribe, and everybody, thanks for taking time out of your day to come hang out with us. I hope that something was either entertaining or helpful for you. And like I said, go send us a message and join that group because we do love helping folks, and I really dig in the sleighs, guys. We got to come up with next week. We're gonna have to throw down the gauntlet, Steve. We need to come up with a project and we give out some homework and see what people can come up with because I do like that idea. I think that's a pretty good, cool idea you had there.
Yeah, I think we can do some of that and get some creative juices flowing. So,
Yeah, we'll have to throw the gauntlet down this week and see what Norbert's got. Y'all have a good one, guys.
yeah, we'll see y'all.